What's going down, y'all? It's the Wake Up Crew here to talk some Monday Night Football prop plays over on Prizepicks for this Halloween Monday Night Football matchup between the Cleveland Browns and the Cincinnati Bengals. Quick recap of the plays that we talked about on the channel for this past Sunday's NFL slate. We talked about Tony Pollard's rushing yards. That hit. Derrick Henry's rushing yards. That hit. Tyreek Hill's receiving yards. That hit. Devontae Smith's receptions. That also hit. So we got 4 hits, but we did miss. I talked about Malik Willis yesterday. Don't ask me why I did it. I said it was the lowest rated of the 4 plays. He went way under his rushing yards. That didn't hit. Justin Fields, bad beat there. We had him more than 8.5 rush attempts. He had 8. And then Josh Jacobs, womp, womp, womp. The whole Raiders team stunk it up. 0 points from them. Josh Jacobs did not go over his rushing yards. But we're going to talk through the Cincinnati-Cleveland game tonight. No Jamar Chase. This will be the first time, Jay, that we've seen this Cincinnati Bengals team with Joe Burrow and how good he's been without Jamar Chase. And anybody that tells you they know exactly how this is going to play out, they're telling you a lie. We have no idea what this offense is going to look like without Jamar Chase, one of the most explosive wide receivers in the NFL. But I don't want to overthink it. I don't want to overcomplicate it. So let's pull up the Prizepicks board, Jay. And we're looking at Joe Burrow right here. They've got his passing yard line at 265.5 for Burrow. And let's just take a look at where the books have Joe Burrow at his passing yards tonight. 260. So already right there, I'm not taking the over. You see it anywhere as high as 266 over here on DraftKings. But 265 passing yards for Joe Burrow. Jay, I don't want to overcomplicate this. T. Higgins, no Jamar Chase. You've got T. Higgins, and let's just pull up everything for Higgins, right? So his fantasy score at 16, receiving yards at 74.5, receptions at 5.5, which seems very low for T. Higgins, and then his targets at 9.5. You look at T on the books, Jay, you see this number anywhere from there's 74.5, points bet already at 80.5, juice to the over. So right now, to get this at 74.5, I'm not overcomplicating this one. I like T. Higgins more than 74.5 receiving yards in this matchup. I know Denzel Ward is a beast, but they got to throw the ball to somebody. And I do not anticipate the Cincinnati Bengals deviating from who they are. They run the 4th most plays per game in the NFL at 63 plays per game. That's tied with Cleveland. So this should be a fast-paced game. This is the same Cleveland Browns team we've seen all year. I like T. Higgins yards, Jay. Talk to me.
Okay, we've already talked pre-show. I sort of disagree.
Yes, you do.
Not with the idea, but I have to provide a little bit of pushback here. And so the biggest thing for me is that T. Higgins has never gone over this number versus the Browns before. 2 games. This is still pre-Jamar Chase. Well, he did go over actually with Jamar Chase in the lineup. That was last season. But in the previous season, before Jamar Chase got there, 35 yards and 71 yards. Now, I did go look to make sure that Joe Burrow did play in that game, and he did play. This is October 25th. Joe Burrow threw for 406 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. The leading receiver, Tyler Boyd, 11 receptions, 101 yards, and a touchdown. But to your point, A.J. Green, 7 receptions, 82 yards. But T. Higgins, 3rd leading receiver. This is still in October, so he hadn't quite taken over from A.J. Green yet, but still had 71 yards, and to your point, should be the alpha in this offense. So the question isn't whether or not I like T. Higgins is over. It's whether or not I like T. Higgins is over Tyler Boyd, right? Tyler Boyd has an over-under, I believe, of 63.5. And the way he played last week, it makes me believe they're going to try and build off of that again in this one. And that game was against Atlanta. Have to take it with a grain of salt because Atlanta is terrible. But Tyler Boyd has put together some pretty good games against Cleveland. And that's the only reason why it's tough for me. So, Ray, give me your opinion as to why you would take T. Higgins over Tyler Boyd. Is it just because he's the alpha?
He's the guy, man. And T. Higgins, you look at what he's done this season. I mean, 71, 93, 124. The New Orleans game, 47. And then versus Atlanta, he had 93 yards and was hoping to get his 100 as well, along with Jamar Chase and Tyler Boyd. He's averaging 85.6 over the last 5. I'm trying not to overthink it. And the pricing that we're getting is, right here at 74.5, DraftKings juiced heavy to the over at minus 130. Caesars, look at this, minus 154 over 74.5. I don't want to overthink it. When you're getting this amount of juice, and PointsBet already has it at 80.5. FanDuel, 78.5, even money. I don't want to overthink it. They're running the plays. He's the guy. T. Higgins is an incredible talent. and they're going to run plays. So that's where I'm at. I trust this number for T. Higgins in this matchup tonight, but I get it, man. If you want to trust the history and the data and you're a little nervous about it, I understand it, but that's my case for T. Higgins to go over 74.5 yards.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I definitely hear you out on that. I think the bigger thing for me, Ray, and we were talking about this pre-show, is that we're looking for this to be a very run-heavy game. We know that Burrow's still going to throw the ball. Whether or not he goes over that 265.5, we'll see. As you can see, the data is kind of trending towards probably going a little bit lower and towards an under, at least the way bettors are projecting right now. But we talked about Nick Chubb to go over his half a rushing touchdown, right? Yep. His over-under for yards, 82.5, a number that he's hit, I believe it said in 6 of 7 games this season. So you look at what we've seen from Chubb and how good he's been, it's very difficult to stay away from him, even though this is a tougher matchup against the Bengals. The Bengals have been allowing some rushing yards on the ground, but overall, I think this will be a heavy rushing game from both running backs on both sides. So you see whether you like the rushing yards better or the touchdown for Nick Chubb. We do like both those numbers. What's that line? Is that 83.5 right now on the books?
You're seeing 83.5 on DraftKings juice to the over.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm in on Nick Chubb. I like the touchdown and I like the yards, Jay.
Yeah, I think those are kind of the plays I'm looking at. And then getting over to the other side in Joe Mixon, because we are looking for ones to complement both sides. We talked about T. Higgins, now obviously Nick Chubb. Mixon's yards at 65.5. I kind of like it. It's weird because this season and last season, Mixon has really struggled, but his actual history against the Browns is pretty well documented. He hit in 5 straight after his first game, so he has had a lot of success versus the Browns, and the Browns haven't been great stopping the run. And so I think potentially we could see a heavy dose from the running game on both sides. The weird part for me, Ray, Mixon's carries are at 18 on Prizepicks, but his yards are only 65.5. And I get his yards per carry are terrible this season, but I just have to believe that he has an opportunity to go over 65.5 if you believe he can get those 18 carries. We have him projected for, I think, right around 18 carries and about 65 yards. So it's going to be close if he does get there. And the projections aren't like heavy to the over, but he's just a guy that I think at some point he's going to have to step up in a game and play really well. I think it could be this one against the Browns. And then so on the other side, if we talk about Burrow and Mixon and T. Higgins dominating, I think that lends itself towards a DPJ over. Donovan Peoples-Jones is a player who's hit in 4 straight for his receiving yards over, and I think I'd be taking him again today. I expect the Browns to be down. He's never had less than 5 targets or 50 receptions in a game for the past 4 weeks. He's been more heavily involved recently. Donovan Peoples-Jones is a guy I really like for an over. Amari Cooper will demand a lot of the attention. DPJ will see a lot more single coverage, and I think that's a great opportunity for him to have another good game tonight.
So let's rank these, right? Because would you rather take Chubb's yards at 82.5, which I believe he's 6-1 on the season with his yard. I mean, he's incredible. Touchdown, I mean, he cashed that. We took a Nick Chubb touchdown a couple of weeks ago versus Baltimore. He cashed that in the first quarter, and you were good to go.
Yep.
Would you rather take, and he's getting his 18, 19 rush attempts a game. Would you rather the yards or the touchdown for Chubb? Both juice to the over on the books.
I think I take the yards, man. I think I just trust him. I know he leads the league in 20-yard runs. He had a 20-yard run, I believe, in every game this season. So that alone tells you that chunk plays are coming. I like the touchdown. I'm always worried that there's the chance he doesn't get it, right? Mm-hmm. Where the yards, we know he's getting the volume.
Right.
If heaven forbid they want to run a stupid goal line fade instead of against Nick Chubb,
fair.
Or Kareem Hunt comes in and vultures him. And this is a rushing, right? So there's no chance of a potential screen and him getting in that way. He has to run it in, which doesn't make a big difference. His touchdown's still minus 120 on the books and minus 150 other places. So we expect him to run the ball in. But I think I would just take the yards because it's one of those things a little bit more consistent. He's hitting it almost every week. It is high. The only running back to go over against the Bengals this season was Alvin Kamara, who had 99 yards, I believe I'm remembering correctly. So they can be beat, and Nick Chubb is the best to do it in the league right now. So I think that I would probably trust the yards a little bit more than touchdown. Do you agree with that?
I do. Because you're right. They can get to the goal line, play action, Kareem Hunt dump off, Harrison Bryant drag route across the other side of the field. But what we do know is Nick Chubb is going to get the ball early and often. And I like the 80. I like this number. I like 82.5. I think Joe Mixon is solid. They are giving you half a touchdown rushing, passing, or receiving for Joe Mixon. It's juiced to the over on the books at 65.5. DPJ, 44.5. I get the correlated play. They're running 67 plays per game. Jacoby Brissett, number 2 option. If I had to personally rank these in order of priority for me, it would be Nick Chubb's yards, T. Higgins, Joe Mixon, then DPJ. How would you rank them?
I think I would probably go Nick Chubb, DPJ, Tyler Boyd, who I would take over T. Higgins, and then
Okay.
I would take Joe Mixon's
You're
rushing
out on
yards, probably
Higgins.
just under
You
that.
want no part
I'm
of T.
not, I'm
Higgins
not,
tonight.
I'm not out, but I think I would rather take Tyler Boyd.
Okay.
And especially if you want to go the receptions, which are at 5, I believe still, or the targets, I just think he's going to have to be heavily involved in this one. Because to your point, Burrow's going to throw it. Like, he's going to throw it. And so you see what he did the past couple of weeks. He's coming on stronger. And I think with a full game plan with Tyler Boyd, he will be heavily involved. And he's had some big games in the past against this team. So I do like it quite a bit for Tyler Boyd.
All right, there you go. Those are the plays for this Monday night slate. I didn't figure we'd go 10 minutes talking about this game, but we had to give the people that. Listen, take what you like. We do not charge for picks. We walk you through our process, give you some data, give you our analysis. You don't have to take all of these. Take what you like, leave what you don't. All that we do is we ask that you hit the thumbs up button, subscribe, like the content. Let us know what you're playing below in the comments below. And if you tail, give Prizepicks hell. And if we fail, do not bail. We've got NBA picks today. We've got more NFL picks for Thursday. College football picks on Friday. Free, free, free. If you tail, give them hell. If we fail, don't bail once again. Enjoy the Monday Night Football matchup. We'll be back with NBA plays later. Good luck and good night. We're out. Peace.